Deep in an underground secret Pacific Island lair, Pop Culture Minefield presents Saturday Morning Funtime. This is the Comic Relief Crusader telling you to get your morning cereal ready, because here we go.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
I'm enjoying my Fuel Up Wake right now. It is so good. I'm starting to feel the energy kick in. And it is Saturday morning somewhere. And we are celebrating everything in entertainment that we love on this show. Along with me here for the ride is Keith Moncrief, my partner in crime. Are you here, Keith?
Yes.
Yes. And then, of course, I have Dus Wolfen and Martine in my hip pocket. And Bill is joining us from the booth at KGRA in Roswell, New Mexico, to give us an update of how things are going down there in Roswell. So what's going on, man?
Oh, my gosh. It's so much fun down here. Right now, Mark D'Antonio, the astronomer, is walking up to me. It's just been a great time here. KGRA is highly represented here with a lot of staff. And Mark D'Antonio is going to peek in. There he is. Say hello, Mark, to everybody.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Hey.
They say hello. Mark does a show on KGRA, Sky Tour Live. Also, he does a great stream on YouTube, Sky Tour live stream. This guy is seen all over TV. He's a great guy, a great astronomer. Definitely tune into what he does. But yeah, it's been great here. Last night, for example, Travis Walton is here. I may be throwing out names.
Oh, shit. I met him years ago.
Yes, I don't know if you're familiar. Daryl Sims, who's considered the alien hunter. He's from Texas. Mike Barra from Ancient Aliens. So there's a bunch of people.
These are guys that we need to get contact info on so Don and I can have them on.
Just tell me.
I'm telling you now.
First of all, I want to say this. I miss you guys. I miss you all week working with you.
We missed you this week too, man.
Keith, John, I was praying for you for your surgery. I'm glad that you're okay.
Yep.
Martine, I miss everybody. Keith, all the guys. And, of course, Anima. So, but it's been great here. Last night, for example, you ain't going to believe this. Why I'm wearing a UFO Park cap, I'm outside the hotel last night. We got back after we left here. So Travis Walton's outside playing guitar. These names, like, you may not be familiar, but a lot of the people that are speaking here were outside. We're all hanging out. So there's this gentleman. He's from Australia, and he's just traveling with his wife throughout the country. So he says, "Hey, I love that hat. You give me that hat, and I'll go upstairs and grab you a shirt from Australia." I said, "Okay." So that was my only hat. So I gave him that, and he gave me a shirt. It is so. I'm going to do it. Now I'm going to do it. Badass.
Well, if you now look, I hope you put that shirt on correctly, because if it is from Australia, you have to put it on the other way because it's on the opposite side of the equator.
Wait. Dude, this isn't like that cross band. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day when they worked it backwards. No.
I want to do a show called Bad Science with Gary.
But
Wow.
I got to say,
all the toilets go backwards.
Been a ton of fun here. This is day 2 of day 3. Head of Op Eric is here of KGRA. We got KGRA staff here. It's just been awesome, guys, and I am so blessed to have the opportunity to be a part of this here. And KGRA should be doing some future stuff as well at Roswell. So really, it's just been an incredible experience overall. So, any questions from you guys?
Is George Knapp there?
No. Dude, it's like there's going to be a lot of people rolling in soon. They're showing films right now in the room across where the KGRA booth is. All the vendors are behind me. I got to get you guys on some shows with you and Don, for the UFO Wednesday morning show.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman here that I was saying, Daryl Sims. Oh my God, this guy could be on 5 different shows, and you have to keep it on. He's got so many stories to tell. He's been doing UFO alien research for 50 years. And he's such a great guy, and he's very personable, and he likes to have a lot of fun. When I got here, took a flight from Phoenix to Roswell, and he happened to be on the plane. So he and I were hanging out. You guys wouldn't believe what happened. The whole trip here, there's no lights in the plane. We flew in the dark.
What?
There's no lights. We flew in the dark.
Oh, that's really, I bet that was freaky.
It was very freaky. And the only light we had was the big moon coming in the windows. We're like, what's going on here? But it's just been like an awesome experience. It's great to have KGRE here at Roswell. And like I said, this is great moving forward. You know what I mean? This is a great thing to do.
Oh, roger that.
You know what I mean? But
yeah,
maybe I'd love to get some of the people like I said, in the future that are here on with you guys. But I know you guys got an awesome show going on today.
We're going to be talking about the history of HANNA BARBERA.
Wow.
And hey, I want to say something funny though. One, I love the way you said represented. I said I wanted to tell you, do you feel represented? Do you feel like you've been seen, Bill?
Actually, you know what's crazy? Actually, I had people approaching me and saying, I've heard of you. I know who you are. And I heard great things about you, what you do at KGRA Digital Broadcasting. I'm like, okay. But it's all about networking. You know how this works. You know how it is to engage
as an artist,
people.
even, you know, working in the film and comic industry, I had to network a lot. So I know. And I want to say thanks for, because you told me to send the invite to Bill. Okay. So I did. So then all of a sudden this kid gets on. He hands his headset. Bill hands his headset to this kid, long hair and a hat. And he just sits down and I'm like, who is this random 17-year-old kid that Bill just gave the headset to? So I'm talking to him. And then I went, like, who are you? And he goes, I'm Bill. It did not. His voice and his very juvenile appearance did not connect in my head at all. He is young looking. But it was really cool talking to him, man.
He's head of ops. He's the head of operations. That person is brilliant. He's a very intelligent individual. But I just wanted to say, you guys rock. And I want to say hello to all your listeners and those that are watching. And I can't wait to get home to be driven crazy by all of you because I miss you.
And he will tell you I do drive him crazy.
But thank you for the opportunity for me to come on with you guys, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys in a few days if I can make it home, because there's a snowstorm predicted when I fly in home.
Oh
Monday.
man, I look. I said this to Bill. Eric. To Eric, I said, "Hey man, if it snows really bad there, I hope you send out a team to look for Chanel."
Chanel's gonna have to maybe do it because I don't know if I'm gonna make it home Monday night.
She's so short. She's like so tiny. Eric stood up and showed us how tall she is to him, and I just started laughing. She's like man boob size to him.
But wait, she is also a badass producer.
She is badass. That's why we love her. She's a little predator, man. With that crazy hair. And I love that she leaves her hair loose now on the show. Because I told her we'd love it if she did. She's
cool.
chilling.
She's chilling now.
Just chilling with us, man.
Exactly. So Gary, Martine, Keith, John, everyone, have a great rest of your show. Like I said, I can't wait to get back next week sometime and come back and be with all of you again.
And Bill, we look forward to it. And more importantly, keep an eye out for George Knapp, please.
But wait a minute.
Anybody from Ancient Aliens, man, and George Knapp.
There's one here. Martine.
Yeah.
How do you know this, Bill?
I know this is not Bill. You're a pot person.
You're a pot person. Thank you, Antonio Banderas.
You guys have a great one. I'll see you next week.
Have fun at Roswell.
Bye, Pot Bill.
Hey, guys.
Man, good seeing him. God, I wish we'd go down there. Maybe we'll do one, Keith, sometime. We'll go down to Roswell and do a show from there.
That'd be kind of cool.
I know we've had problems simulcasting, because a lot of these shows that we go to have just absolute garbage internet. So, it's like we need to get one of those portable modems through like mobile or something to where we can just not rely on them and do our own, have our own internet. But I like it when we do, though. It's why I don't go, because I got to be honest, I see you as the guy who gets to go to the shows and have fun while I stay back and make sure that we're still on the air.
You know what? That's all great and everything, but I'd like to get to the point where we could just take our entire team and just take over an event.
Yeah, but no, everybody but Martin, because, I could tell he would be annoying. He would always be in the food court. Do you know that they got cotton candy here?
When did he become Russian?
Jew? Russians don't say Jew. Shut up. And I told Bill says, how did the surgery go? And I said, he died on the operating table.
I heard that.
I'm a dick. I was so happy, though. Anytime one of my friends who suffer from obesity has to go under the knife, it scares the shit out of me. I won't show it. But a lot of us were terrified, John, even for the simplest surgery like that. Because when you are overweight, there's the risk of a high risk of the anesthetic absorbing into your fat tissue.
Yeah.
And staying in there for long periods. And I don't even want to go into what it can do.
Yeah.
And so I'm just glad you're here, man.
This coming from someone with medical experience. Seriously. I mean, that's him talking.
Oh, who, John?
Like
John has medical experience? No.
really?
To
hear you say that, Gary, that frightens me a little bit. So
yes. I don't know shit about. I remember one night on one of our friends' streams, and somebody said something stupid, and I corrected them, and they said, "Well, nobody on this panel is a medical expert." And I said, "Compared to you guys, I'm a medical expert with 20 years in the medical field. So yeah, you can shut up." And it's why I don't do shows. I very rarely, Toxic Tuesday, Brandon, I have to really trust on Brian to go on their shows. I have trouble. And Keith was there for one of them. Keith was there because the guy kept interrupting him when Keith was trying to say something. And I got angry and I snapped at him. And I said, "Why don't you shut up and let him finish making the point he's trying to make? He let you talk."
yeah.
Then I excused myself and left the show because when I get mad, I got to go.
I too don't do a lot of shows, for various reasons. But
well, mostly because they're racist and they don't want to have a black guy on.
You know what?
Fuck you, Gary, is what he wants to say.
It's just there's a lot of other things that take up my time. Plus, I have to spend time in my room buying extra red string to basically, put across the room to attach from photograph to pieces of paper and other things, as Gary has described. So,
hey, I haven't said good morning to everybody real quick. Let me do this real quick. We got Penny here, Dragon Ruse, Keto Simple. Hey, Dustin's here. Good morning, Zax, Kyle, our good friend Kyle, Anima Confusa, love of my life, is here. War Monkey. I suspect there are more people here though. Slasher Fred is here. Right? I thought I saw him. Yep. So people are slowly trickling in, and they can always back it up to watch some of this stuff. I'm always excited when we get to do the live thing, like when you're at one of the conventions. And I didn't go to the last one, or actually, I went and then left because we were having so much trouble. So, John was there. You and he reported.
It's March, and there are a few events that have already happened. There are a lot more that will be happening between now and the end of the year. Again, I often tell people, if you do go, just remember 3 very important things: hand sanitizer, very, very, very comfortable shoes.
Did you see Graham Nolan?
No, what?
Oh man, he got the con crud.
Oh, dude.
Got conjunctivitis. His eye looks like shit. And I wanted it. Normally when I like that, I got to make a joke. I said, hand sanitizer before you touch your eye, before you rub those eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Do something like this. Sanitize. Wash your damn hands.
Or fist bump. Do a lot of fist bumps.
Elbow bumps, fist bumps.
fist bumps.
But my thing is even though I hate physical contact with people, and you know that I'm OCD germaphobe.
Yeah.
And people go, "Oh, he's just kidding about that." Even here in the house, if I go into the bathroom, because I go into communal bathroom from the studio here, when I go in there, if the hand towel is moved and I notice, I throw it in the dirty laundry. I will not use a hand towel that somebody else has touched. I won't do it. I'm that bad. And Scott thought that was funny that I'm that big a germaphobe. Like, what the hell's wrong with you, Gary? I don't know.
Well,
but I got conquered. Oh, what, John?
I would like to offer this advice. Fist bumps and elbow bumps are fine, but headbutts are usually frowned upon.
Yeah. As somebody who has actually headbutted other people, I concur.
We have a super chat from
yes,
Abdulio.
we do. From Abdulio. What is up, man? If you can find it, highly recommend Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2. A breath of fresh air, poking fun, but respectful tribute to both franchises and a lot of fun callback Easter eggs. Do you know about this one? I've not heard about this one.
That's the leaked one. A bunch of the canceled Warner stuff got leaked, and that was one of them. There's like 2 or 3 Scooby-Doo movies that were basically going to be directed.
So what did you see it?
No, it just was making the news.
Yeah, I only saw a graphic. That's all I've seen.
Yeah, that's all I've saw.
Well, if I can find a way to check it out, Abdulio, I will. I'll force Keith to do it. All you got to do is tell him at the end of the movie there's a code to get money. He falls for shit like that all the time.
Yeah, that's the reason why I had to buy all that red string for the room.
Well,
forget to drink your Ovaltine.
I have something from Abdulio. Is accordingly, I would say this is how we are reacting to this news.
Wow.
And
Awesome.
And
where's my money? You gonna give me my money? Where's my money, man?
we are strippers, and we love it when you put money.
I am the supreme ruler of the neighborhood of make-believe.
I won't contest that.
That was wow. Who was that one? Who did that?
That was John.
Was that you, John?
Yeah.
Turn that shit down, motherfucker. So, how are you feeling today, John? After
I'm
the surgery,
feeling pretty good.
Because we are now officially 3 days post-surgery, and you should pretty much start feeling less like had a midget punch the shit out of your guts. You should start feeling the recovery process. No, I'm serious, dude. That is a good description of what it's like. You feel like somebody has done nothing but worked your abdomen over when you have those surgeries. Everywhere where they cut in, it feels like the muscles are bruised or torn. And you just don't even want to move. I've heard people describe breathing sometimes hard, where it'll do that. You go to move and suddenly your breath, you feel like you can't take a breath. Yeah. I'm very empathetic with anybody who has abdominal surgery. But proud of you, man. You're moving forward. Also, I'm going to always drink soda in front of you because it'll be funny.
Okay. That's okay.
Don't you act nonchalant with me.
I'll stick with my water.
Oh, boy. Delicious water.
Yep.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. I got
If
water.
God loved us, water would taste good.
Oh, my God.
I just don't know how to respond to that.
No,
No.
I have so many ways to respond to that, but I keep it to myself.
Keep it to your damn self. Damn Venezuelans. Your big mouths.
And you gringos with your first world problem.
When did we go from backdoor Gary to racist Gary?
Hi. I'd like to inform you that we have a new show coming called
Save us, kids. Save us from ourselves.
Yeah, we're launching a new channel, and nobody's allowed to share the link with Gary. I'm drinking my Superman flavored drink.
You mean
Dead Krypton?
Flavored
Dead Krypton.
julep? Oh, Dead Krypton. Okay.
I am also enjoying my Fuel Up, and it's yummy. And that's something that's nice, though, right? You're still allowed to drink the Fuel Up, right, John?
Yeah, I can drink Fuel Up once I get some.
Oh, I thought you'd gotten some.
No, I haven't gotten any.
Don't. You're nasty. You're so nasty, Keith. You're nasty. You're nasty.
You know what? My mind just took off for someplace else. So I guess that's
Keith,
reason enough to kick myself off the show. So there we go.
Get back on here. I don't like working with Muppets. Unless they're actual Muppets. Then I'll hang out with them. Because we have some friends who are Muppets. Like Snow and those guys. Flo. Love those guys.
Yeah.
Vinkman's girl is here. Hi. How you doing today? And Dragon Ruse is here. Did I see that? Dragon Ruse is here.
Happy Saturday, everybody.
Yeah. I hope everybody's having a good Saturday. I'm having fun this Saturday morning. I hope that everybody is feeling enriched in their life, because I know that we do. I'm blessed to hang out with you guys like this on a Saturday morning, when normally I'd just be sitting down in my underwear watching cartoons or porn. Sometimes both.
Oh my goodness. That was a mental image that I didn't have to know.
Really? So you thought about it?
Just stop, Martin. Just stop.
Stop feeling Gary. This is Russian. This is what the Russian sounds like, John. They say things like, hey, this fucking sucks. I had a Russian in my band.
You're too sober to be Russian right now.
Too what?
Too sober to be Russian right now.
Having been friends with quite a few Russians, I got to tell you, man. Yeah, I'm calling you on it. You're a racist.
I'm a Russian.
Like Russians
Technically, it would be culturalism.
I know that. That's what I was making the joke about. Nationalist, racist, culturalist, speciesist. So, let's get started on this, man, because it was so much fun having Bill on here. I've missed him all week. I really have.
Yeah.
I get so used to him. And then it's like, there's this moment of confusion. Like today, like, oh shit, who's starting the show? Who's starting the show? So I pulled everybody down. By the way, with power comes great responsibility. I tell this to Mikey Sutton. Do not post at 3 a.m. about shit that's about to go down, because it will give me a heart attack or a stroke. And this goes to Keith, too. I don't want to wake up to, here we go again, Steve Jeppy and Diamond Comics Distributor says that he has no regrets about screwing comic store owners. And I just started like blindly swinging at the air the minute I read that this morning. So with great power comes great responsibility.
I appreciate that, but I figured I was in pain and I was going to just basically have the world.
I want to share the pain. You're one of those miserable people that likes to share their misery. If I've got to suffer, you do too.
Yes, because because one of the differences between you and I is I'm the eldest of the kids of my family, and you're not quite the eldest in yours. So you should be used to this.
I'm the eldest of my kids.
I thought you were the youngest.
What?
Of my kids. My children. Shinatsky. Of my siblings, I'm the baby. And I have very little to do with them. I love them. But we have nothing. We have nothing in common. I love my nieces and nephews, though. I love reading their stuff. And they're always on my Facebook page. I love that. I love knowing they're in the world. I did get upset with Zoe this week because she had not talked to me since February 25th. And I'm like, I finally messaged her. I'm like, "Are you alive?" Like, I'm sitting here waiting because you were supposed to call me and you never did. And I don't want to, like, I'm not one of those pushy parents. I try not to be, but I said, you will send me down the panic rabbit hole if you don't contact me soon. And I remind her, I said, just because you're not my child in my home anymore that I'm raising, I still have panic mode with you. And it came from the kidnapping and all that shit, and it'll always be there. I'm never getting rid of that shit, man. And I hate it. I hate it. The panic that goes. And the minute she doesn't respond to me, man, or because I sent her a really funny message about, because she used to walk around the house doing Zoidberg all the time. And she would do the scuttle thing, and she'd scuttle around the house all the time. She'd scuttle past me. I'd be sitting there doing something, and I'd hear shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. And I'd turn, and she's scuttling past me going, and so I sent her a Zoidberg meme, and nothing. And then I sent her another one, nothing. Finally, I said, "Are you alive? You're freaking me out." "I'm sorry, Dad. I get so caught up in work. I love you. You're so important to me, and I'm not ignoring you." And I'm like, okay. When I get that outpouring of love from her, I'm all better.
See, it's good to hear from the kids.
I want to hear more often. I like hearing from them. If I got to be honest, I didn't even want phone calls from my dad on a weekly basis. He would frustrate me. But my daughter, I want to hear from her every day. I would just love to hear from her. Because I don't know, that she's doing well is just one of those things. As a parent, every parent knows this, that you just want to know they're okay.
Yeah.
That you can happily die at any moment knowing they're okay. But when you go days without hearing from them, I can't help it with me. I don't just concern myself. There's this anxiety that kicks in. It's like that funny day I told you about where I fell asleep at my desk working. I was like all the way over with my head in my hand, and I went, "Oh shit, I fell asleep at my desk. What time is it?" And my computer, well, I'm just going to tell you. I looked at the time and I went, "Oh my God, Zoe's out of school. She should already have been here. Where the hell is she?" I bolted out the door, went all the way down the Elm Street apartment. You know the one where I live. I went all the way down to the end, went down to where the bus was. I'm looking for her. I go to Hardee's because she knows in case of emergency. That's where she goes.
Mm-hmm.
We were friends with the management there. Storms, everything. And they had seen her. I am in absolute freaking panic mode that something has happened, that somebody has taken my daughter again. That's really what happens. Once you've had a kid kidnapped, it really it's the first thing you go to.
Yeah.
And so I go back up the stairs. I call the school, and I get a hold of the receptionist, and I'm in panic. She can hear it in my voice. And she says, "Now, honey, you need to calm down." And I'm like, how dare you? How dare you tell me how to feel? And then she goes, "Apparently you forgot that this is fall back, time." And my clock on my computer showed 3:45 when it's 2:45. And then I went, oh, I hung up. And then I had all this energy from the anxiety attack just sitting there going, "What do we do now?"
And remember, kids, this weekend, set your clocks 1 hour forward. There's 1 hour from you.
Yep. So I got to tell you, my anxiety level's still with my daughter sometimes, and I try to keep it at bay. I try to remind myself she's going to live her life. It's sort of like when I saw Benjamin on monkey bars the first time. He was like 5. He was 5, and we let him play on some monkey bars. And I was like this the whole time in the seat going, because that's the thing, you got to let your kids try to kill themselves. And we got to get used to it as parents, because kids are stupid. They're idiots. And they're going to do stupid shit.
And for you brand new parents, I know that's hard to hear, but
I remember the first time she got stitches, because she turned into a kid, turned right into this kid on a teeter-totter, and he came up and just ripped her chin open. She was terrified when I took her for the stitches. She's thinking the needle thing, but they used the epoxy, sterile epoxy, and she was so happy. Oh, I'm so glad it was. I said, getting the hit hurt worse than the stitches. Just telling you, because they do numb it up.
Yeah.
Please stop walking into teeter-totters in operation.
Speaking of someone that actually got the needle with the stitches,
Oh yeah, that's right. They gave you butterfly stitches, right? Because they did. No, I'm serious. They're cross stitches because the insertions they do are very small, and then they open them and then they close them up.
Yeah, they tried to be small. I still have the scar. So.
Oh, you too.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about John.
Oh, no, I have.
No, I'm serious. I didn't know you were talking about yourself. So, okay, all right. I didn't know that, Keith.
Things people don't know about me. I could fill a book.
Yeah, I've got internal sutures.
Stop trying to make
and
yourself
external
interesting.
sutures, and they put a covering, like a plastic bandage over it, like a clear super glue type stuff.
Mm-hmm. So they didn't do any sutures.
No, I've got internal sutures.
Internally, where they cut on your stomach and everything.
Well, those are staples. I'm talking about the where they cut through the muscle and stuff.
Those are the abdominal rectus muscles, yeah. And they are, a lot of people don't know this, your abdomen, the muscles in your abdomen are also a protective organ. They're designed to absorb things. When I got shot as a kid, the abdominal rectus muscles stopped the bullet and kept it from penetrating into my guts.
Racing.
Oh, yeah, penetrating. Yeah. Because we're all about the penetration here. But I never went any further. It just locked into the muscle. And so they didn't have to do any surgery. They just pulled it right out. And I remember telling the lady I was with, Carl's mother, I'm like, tell him you're my mom. Tell him you're my mom. don't. And because I was terrified of my dad. I was so terrified he was going to find out. And because I knew he was going to kill me, because I was supposed to be hanging out with Carl. Carl was a local, weed dealer. And he didn't want me hanging out with him. I didn't smoke weed. He was just my friend, and we liked guns. But then that curtain opened, and there's my dad standing there looking at me, and I just remember thinking, I'm dead. Oh my God, he's going to kill me. And he was really nice to me. You okay, boy? I'm like, yes, sir.
I love that. It's like, I shouldn't hang out with him. We just hanged out, and I liked guns. Yes, that's a great thing for a kid to say to their parent.
Yeah. We had some funny stuff because, right at the top of the apartments where he lived, that's where I ran into the situation with that squirrel. We went out just messing around. Had our, I had a 30-30, and Floyd had a 22, and this squirrel was up in a tree, and he nailed that squirrel. And so I'm like, well, you can't just kill it. We have to eat it. So we had a fort built in the woods up there on the north side of the apartment complex. And we put it in the fort, walked all the way back down to my dad's apartment, our apartment. And I got the iron skillet and got some oil. And we are going to go back up there, build a fire. We go inside the fort, and that squirrel was not dead. It was barely winged. And he went insane. It scared the shit out of Floyd and I so much that we went through and tore down the fort trying to get away from that squirrel. End of our fort.
Wow.
But anyway, look, let's get into this seriously, because now I don't have any videos queued up or anything. And we got to get better at planning some of these shows, and we will as time goes by, because I want to have videos queued up so we're able to show stuff, because this is important. Hanna Barbera changed animation. They had as great an impact on animation as Disney had, Walt himself had, on starting the Walt Disney Studios. You know, that was one of the biggest moves, what he did by creating teams. He's the one who started that stuff.
Well, also, you have to understand how important animation was in the first few years of television. You know, it wasn't like you had a lot of animated shows. I mean, by the time Gary and I were alive, by the time many of you actually were born.
Well, HANNA-BARBERA started Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, that it without it, you know, children's television would be different. I mean, it just would be. And
moms ruined it. Ruined it, Brian. Ruined. Moms ruined Saturday morning cartoons. But keep going, Keith. I'm not meaning to interrupt you. I'm just adding salt and seasoning to the soup you're making.
Let me at least just say this. While there are a lot of companies that have produced a lot of cartoons, HANNA-BARBERA had a way of making cartoons that really just were the feel-good cartoons of every decade they came out. Okay, it's comfort food is what they've given, and they had a formula that allowed them, well, seemingly to just create hit after hit after hit. Okay, so we're not just talking about two gentlemen who just one day decided, well, let's create an empire. It was more along the lines,
because they started out as your typical creative laborers.
Yes.
They started in alternate studios elsewhere, but they gravitated towards this one studio called MGM.
Yep.
They were the ones who set up, outside of Walt Disney, they were the first ones to get a real serious studio going early in the 1930s.
Because everybody was trying to compete with Disney. Disney was wiping the floor with everybody.
Yeah, Warner Brothers Studios, when they started doing animation, having their own animation studio, it was to compete with Disney, as was MGM. And MGM started with some very unknown, nobody remembers some of these cartoons, but they got hired to work on the animation team. And somehow, right around 1937, they began working on, it might have been 38, when they started working on Tom and Jerry. Because Tom and Jerry came out between 1938 and 1940. And Tom and Jerry is where they started working as a team, and they really got along well. One working on the production side of it, and the other one working on the producing side of it, creative and the directing, and that's how they work. They had a very symbiotic team work environment between the two of them. And that relationship started in 1937, and it went on until their deaths. I mean, that's a hell of a relationship. And Tom and Jerry was groundbreaking animation because they were animating that at 24 frames per second.
Yeah,
that means for every 24 frames of filmmaking, there was a drawn animated cell, individual cell.
The thing about animation is pushing the boundaries became something that everyone really wanted to do. Right. Disney and UB had started out doing kind of live action and animation combination before they even went out to California, and that eventually became something that everyone did. You had your you eventually made your way to the movie Anchors Away.
Well, that was just it, because MGM really had a great idea with utilizing their animation studio, not just for making the short cartoons, which, by the way, I want to point out that some of the films that they worked on, animated films, short films that they did for MGM, won Oscars, but they didn't get those Oscars. That always went to Fred Quimby, who really wasn't the guy doing the work. He wasn't even really directly involved. And Quimby got to collect those Oscars. And it really always pissed me off that they didn't get those Oscars. And they should have been given those Oscars, because those two were the guys in charge of the animation.
Yeah. You can go on YouTube right now and see how they created this famous scene, a dance scene in the middle of the movie Anchors Away, starring Gene Kelly. and it's Gene Kelly and Jerry the Mouse dancing together. And it's an amazing scene. And I will say,
yeah, it's incredible. And they did a great version of it on Family Guy.
Yes.
And replaced Jerry with Stewie. And I thought, this is amazing. I enjoyed that clip.
It's definitely one of the most influential scenes in the history of Hollywood. And you can tell that a lot of animators that came after would always look to this scene as one of those breakthrough scenes, because kind of like
if we hadn't done that, I don't think we would have ever had Roger Rabbit.
True, very true. But eventually, based on that success, you eventually had Hanna-Barbera would eventually make their way to forming their own company.
I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Read that.
That's true. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I forgot all about Jennifer Lawrence's contribution to everything. In fact,
Jennifer Lawrence contribution. She didn't contribute. She created everything.
I'm just going to point out that when he says that, it sounds more like he's saying contribution.
Oh my God.
Same thing, basically. I still love that Simpsons episode where they have the Itchy and Scratchy actual creator come up, and then the CEO is going, it's like, if you don't let us steal ideas, where the hell are we going to get them from? And he lists all the Hanna-Barbera cartoons that were basically cartoon versions.
Even Family Guy admits to stealing from Hanna-Barbera when one of their backgrounds slips into a Flintstones background.
Oh, yeah.
But I got to tell you, a lot of people don't know this. There was a cartoon before it all. And their first foray into creating animation for television started in 1957, 20 years after they became a team.
Rough and Ready Show.
The Rough and Ready Show. And I actually have the intro to that. I'm sure we're going to get ganked on it. I don't give a shit. The free use thing is so ridiculous on YouTube right now. They should be ashamed of themselves. The fair use. We're doing an educational show here about the history of animation. They're going to gank us for daring to show some of that. You watch. I'll get a claim.
Yeah, you guys better be nice to us when we do the all William Shatner show. And don't think I'm kidding. We'll do it.
It'll happen.
It will happen.
Will you cover Kingdom of the Spiders?
We will cover William Shatner. He'll get his own show. We'll cover Leonard Nimoy. He'll get his own show because both of them have birthdays this month.
So here it is, guys. The animation that started it all for Saturday mornings.
Get set, get ready. Here comes Rough and Ready. They're tough but steady, always rough and ready. They sometimes have their little spats, even fight like dogs and cats. But when they need each other, that's when they're rough and ready.
There it is, man. Joseph Barbarian and William Hanna took all those years of learning, 20 years of learning, and started their own animation studio to start Saturday morning cartoons.
And you know what? From Rough and Ready to their next big one, which was Huckleberry Hound.
Huckleberry Hound.
That character alone.
Based on Andy Griffith.
Kind of, sort of. They're the guy who was actually the voice. When you hear him talk in real life,
well,
he does sound like that. And it's a combination of things. But I will say this. Huckleberry Hound was one of those shows that is a cornerstone of the 1950s. 1950s television watching. Kids who grew up with that and Daniel Boone, or I should say Davy Crockett.
Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier.
Zorro, and Superman. You know, the Adventures of Superman television series.
And that, by the way, a lot of people don't know that with Disney's Zorro, which was a great series.
Yeah, Disney Zorro.
That was I just forgot his name. Guy from Lost in Space. He was the dad on Lost in Space.
Guy Williams.
Guy Williams. Thank you.
Yeah.
What a great show. And he was an actual Olympic level swordsman.
He was also the big name of Lost in Space. When Lost in Space happened, he was the name.
He was the one that was most betrayed by the studio when they decided to make Dr. Smith the star of the show.
Yep.
He was supposed to die season 1, but he became so popular they couldn't kill him.
Yeah.
And Guy was supposed to be the lead, the dad, just like in the story of the Swiss Family Robinson. It was like, it's the family, but the dad was the leader of the family, But he got replaced, and it really bugged him. But he tried not to be mad about it.
He was still getting paid.
He's a pro.
Yeah.
Well, the third Hanna-Barbera series was Quick Draw McGraw.
Yep. That show also was just amazing. It was another show that just became an instant hit, and Hanna-Barbera started to slowly gain and become who they have become now. They were still the new guys, but Rough and Ready, Huckleberry Hound, and Quick Draw McGraw pretty much showed that these guys knew what they were doing, and that eventually led to the next step, because they had really taken over Saturday morning. But what they had also noticed was that these characters, especially Huckleberry Hound, had become so popular that they had become, and this is going to be very familiar, they had also started to become popular with college students and certain adults, to the point where even certain bars would advertise and hang signs that nobody was to really make any noise or clink their drinks while Huckleberry Hound was on. So they knew that they were ready for the next step, which was prime time, nighttime entertainment, taking animation there. And that eventually led to the idea of developing a family show for the primetime hour. And that show would be the Flintstones. Now, that idea of having it be set in prehistoric times wasn't the original idea for the show. They had tried to set it in many different times. They tried to make it medieval. They tried setting it in the Old West. But
no matter what, it had to be Ralph, Ed Norton, Alice, and Trixie.
Had to be the Honeymooners.
Yes, the Honeymooners, which ironically also came up. You had oh geez, now I forgot the actor's name. You had the great one.
Jackie Gleason.
Sorry, yes, Jackie Gleason was looking at possibly
Ralphie boy
taking Hanna-Barbera to court.
And it did happen. It did happen.
His lawyer told him, it's like, you could do that, but you also have to understand that if you do that and you're successful, you will have been the guy that took the Flintstones away from children and other fans out there. And so Gleason just sort of let them do it. I mean, he could have sued them. He just sort of let them just proceed, because ultimately it ended up helping him too. Ironically, the Honeymooners was probably the biggest show on TV. So in the years...
in fact, it was so popular that a competing network paid Jackie Gleason off to stop making it. True story. Yeah. He could have retired on the money that they paid him. It was an insane amount of money.
That's the reason why when you talk about comedy of this era, you have to put Jackie Gleason up there with Lucille Ball, okay? Because the two of them, that was comedy right there. And the biggest difference between Lucy and Jackie was whereas Lucy was very good with the comedy that she did, she still needed her husband Desi to take care of all the technical stuff and the legal stuff and all of that. Jackie was the total package. Total package.
The Honeymooners. The Honeymooners were effectively the first event television.
Mm-hmm.
And it really started on the Jackie Gleason variety show.
Yep.
And it was just a bit that was like a part of an episode, not on every episode. And it's amazing that it became so popular that they get so many letters coming in. We love the Honeymooners segments.
Yeah.
To where it's just like, what is it? Grandma's Place on Carol Burnett did the same thing. It was so popular a skit that it ended up getting its own sitcom.
Mama's Family. It was
Mama's Family.
And again, The Simpsons with the they were actually a portion of the
Tracy Ullman Show.
And you know, it happens every so often that you'll have something that just grows beyond where it started.
Grows, it resonates. What everybody loved about that is how Homer, which was at that time sounded more like Walter Matthau when he was doing the voice, Harry Shearer. So, and it's funny because when Seth MacFarlane was doing Peter Griffin, what voice was he doing? In the first season, he was doing Walter Matthau. Coincidence? Because they stole from The Simpsons. They clearly stole from.
Oh, I mean,
but I don't know if that was intentional.
Well, Seth MacFarlane was a big fan. I mean, again, Seth MacFarlane now has his own music career. He's got his own orchestra that plays with him. Well, that's what Jackie Gleason had.
And he has a great history of meeting the young girls that work on his shows, starting relationships with them, then firing them from the shows so that he can keep them to himself. Nothing creepy about that. Dating a girl half your age. Nothing.
Just ask Harvey Weinstein.
I have no room to talk because my current girlfriend is like 17 years younger than me.
17? Oh, sorry.
She's 17 years old.
Okay.
I don't know if she's watching right now. She's like, he's such a joke.
She's just like at the point where like she's going, it's like, shall I stab him when I meet him, or should I just punch him?
No, I think it's more like Mice and Men, where she considers like, I should put him out of everybody's misery.
Hey Gary, what's that?
18 years.
Tell me about the rabbit hutches again, Anima.
Wow. Anyway, to end off this portion about the Flintstones, it was a major coup to get Mel Blanc to do the Flintstone series.
And by the way, point out something really important. He did the voice differently for Barney. He did it two different ways. The first way was because of the lawsuit, the impending lawsuit and the fear of it. Mm-hmm. So they gave him like a really weird voice. And then finally, in the second season, it had already happened and everything was handled. So they were allowed to move forward. And he finally made Barney go, hey, Fred.
Turned him into Art Carney.
Hey, Fred. So he sounds like Art Carney from that point forward.
Yep. It's for those of you under a certain age, if you've really never seen the original Flintstone series, you should check it out. I know there's been a lot of spin-offs and reboots and other things, but to me, there's nothing like the original Flintstone series. In fact, my recommendation for everything that we will be suggesting today is to go out and get the original versions of these cartoons, which originally were offered on VHS. I don't know how many of them made it over to DVD, let alone Blu-ray. So again, this message goes out to Zaslav over at Warner Brothers. Dude, you need to put this stuff out on Blu-ray if you haven't. You need to just go ahead and start releasing it. You know, that's my whole argument right there. Please.
Well, and like the Honeymooners, Flintstones were event TV. They were so big, and they were popular enough with adults that they sold cigarettes.
Yeah. That was one of their primary sponsors. Yeah. And by the way, I ate the shit out of candy cigarettes. I loved candy cigarettes. Never smoked. Wasn't interested in that. I just wanted the candy. And it's like, because I know they say, oh, they're trying to bring in it. I said, you know what gets kids to smoke? Parents who smoke. That's what gets. Watching a cartoon doesn't make them want to smoke.
Yeah.
or seeing other kids smoke.
Yeah.
That makes them want to smoke because, Norm Macdonald says, I was sitting there thinking, gosh, smoking cigarettes might make me look cool. And it was true. It's like, when he said that. So I started smoking when I was a kid. And Norm Macdonald, and he, oh, God, I miss that guy. Anyway, let's get into some of these comments.
He'd be like, and you know what? They said they'll give you cancer. You know what? They were right.
I want to get into some of these comments. We got a lot of starred comments. Let's get to them. Once again, I want to thank Abdullah for his $10 super chat. Thank you so much, dude. And I am going to check out that Scooby-Doo in crypto. I'm going to find a way to get a hold of that, man. So let's see. Next one is, do you guys ever have timeout? Yes, you just got it. Glenn is our good friend over in the UK. And I want to get him on the show because, he's worked in the industry. He had that great interview with Jack Kirby, DVD, which, by the way, in my separation with Deanna, I can't find it.
Glenn, could you share with us another?
I would like a digital copy of it because I'm so pissed that the DVD disappeared. And that's the problem with doing it. I love Haramba Bandana. Boosh. Let's see. Haramba. Again, Boosh with he gets high and has guns. Good combo.
It's time for the break.
Quick Draw McGraw. Slasher Fred says, I've noticed how in Quick Draw McGraw and in Hong Kong Phooey, the main protagonist sidekick were always the real heroes because they would always figure things out. Yes, that's absolutely true. Yeah. And another classic movie, which is on my top 5 list of all time favorite films, Big Trouble in Little China. The main character is not the hero. The real hero is his little Asian buddy. Jack Burton is the sidekick who screws up, gets hurt. He's heroic, mind you.
Well, he's our way into the story, basically.
Guys, it's time for
take a break.
Okay.
It's break time. Let's do it. Hi, guys. This is Gary from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
A birthday without her mom. An anniversary without her husband. Her wedding day without her dad. These are the days when military families feel it most of all. The loss of their soldier, their sailor, their airman, their Marine, their Coast Guardsmen. Families never forget their loved ones lost to war or illness or suicide. Families never forget, and neither do we. We are TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. We provide resources, support, and comfort to heal the hearts and meet the needs of grieving military families, all at no cost to them. Your generosity can make an enormous difference in the lives of the families of our fallen military heroes. Our military families need to know they are not alone and they are not forgotten. Show them your support at taps.org.
Facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. The Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh wow, we survived. Welcome back from the commercial break. Now for some more pop culture minefield.
That was naughty.
Hey, we're back. I don't care. I still enjoy that film. Sean Connery's so badass in that film. I loved the gentleman that played the part of Nemo, and his sub, the Nautilus, was freaking awesome.
Well, that is a direct translation from the comic and also the source material. So,
I didn't really like the comic.
I'm sorry.
I like the film, though. Alan Moore's a hack writer. That's what I'm getting at. I can't stand him. But welcome back from our break, and we are here to talk about some Saturday morning cartoon stuff that we love and the people who brought it to us, which is really the fathers of Saturday morning cartoons were Hanna and Barbera, Joseph Hanna and William Barbera. I don't get it. Shut up, Mr. Burt. You weren't put on this planet to get it. I love that line. James Hong, man, was so fucking great in that movie.
You gotta do with the inflection. You were not put on this planet to get it.
It's one of my. It is the number 5 favorite film of all time. Number 4 being The Duelist, which we'll be talking about on Monday with Military Monday. I want to get to these other comments that are started. Tom and Jerry ripped off Itchy and Scratchy. I love that one. Slasher Fred says, I've noticed in the series Top Cat, the rivalry between Top Cat and Officer Dibble was sort of very similar between the rivalry between Yogi Bear and Ranger Smith. They were very thematic at Hanna-Barbera. Mm-hmm. Once they discovered something, and we're going to get into this, 1964 was a big moment for Hanna-Barbera, but it was also a huge screw-up on their part. And I actually want to do a show called Johnny Quest and the Bandit Problem. Because they wanted to get that formula of kids and a dog. They wanted the dog in there. Whereas the creator did not want that. It was not in the comic.
That's right. He wanted just the characters. He designed all the characters except Bandit, because Bandit was not.
Which is why Bandit doesn't look the same.
Yeah, his style of his drawing is very.
That dog would have been far more realistic if he had created that character. And when they did that against his wishes, he pulled back, and there was no season 2. And that's why that happened. A lot of people wonder that. And I didn't discover that until the documentary.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing one. It's free on YouTube. You can actually find it. The Making of Johnny Quest. Great documentary. Tells you a lot of stuff. But Ranger Smith was sort of a cookie cutout character. The straight man. He was the I wouldn't say he was like Bud Abbott. He was more like the Fourth Marx brother. What's his name? Zeppo.
Yeah.
Who was the good looking straight guy. And the other guys were being silly around him. Hey, boo-boo. Another Ed Norton ripoff. Hey, boo-boo. Let's go steal us some picnic baskets. Okay, Yogi.
Picnic basket.
In real life, they would like maul the people and take their food.
Yeah. Until Yogi discovered marijuana, which would make him very different from the current.
Hey, boo-boo. Yes, Yogi. What was I talking about?
No. You gotta wait for the crossover we're waiting for. Cocaine Yogi Bear.
Oh my God, Cocaine Yogi Bear. There you go. Now, I've got a nit to pick with this one, Bush, because I don't know if you're being serious. I don't think the downfall of the Flintstones was the Great Gazoo, voiced by the amazing Harvey Korman. And what was his insult? What would he call him? I love the insults that he would say to Fred Flintstone.
It would be like
you big. It was like I can't remember it.
Not dummy. It was you big.
No, that was Sanford and Sons.
Yeah, you big dummy. Yeah, with Fred calling Lionel his son big dummy. I love that show. But no, the Great Gazoo was always calling him kind of an idiot. And
only children and dum-dums can see me.
But at this point, it was a full-fledged hit cartoon on Saturday mornings. And actually, to be honest with you, the Flintstones are still alive to this day. So it never killed the Flintstones. It's just evolved. And we got, as we left the 60s and started going to the 70s, we get shows like Pebbles and Bam Bam. I watched it. I ate the damn cereal, the fruit and chocolate flavored Rice Krispies.
Also, technically in getting our vitamins with the Flintstones chewables.
Hey, Zoe had vitamins chewables.
Yeah.
The Flintstones were so massive that Gazoo is, if anything, helped change the direction it was going to go, and bigger. And the Flintstones would make a comeback again in the 70s as its own show on Saturday mornings, but it was never quite the same thing because they had evolved in a way that we wanted those other things. And if you went to King's Dominion or Six Flags, when those were open, that was owned by Hanna-Barbera, Time Warner. And so you had, oh my God, the Scooby-Doo coaster in there at King's Dominion in Virginia. Kid died on it, made a mistake and stood up. And that shut that ride down. It was my favorite roller coaster because the Rebel Yell was the big one. It's sort of like the Screaming Eagle. They were made the same way, the Rebel Yell. And the Scooby-Doo coaster was for kids. It was smaller, but it's still what a ride. And because of one stupid kid ruined it for everybody. And sadly, he died, clipped his head, partially decapitated him. And it was just wow. But it was all over. And eventually some of the other Time Warner stuff would happen. So you had a Superman ride and a Batman ride. And they were great, dude. They were great.
A lot of you younger people just don't know how good it was being a Hanna-Barbera fan.
Well, it was another version of the Nerd Spring. Saturday mornings was our Nerd Spring.
Oh, yeah.
And the 1980s happened. And it transitioned because they did something for the first time with a couple of cartoons that were toys already.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make cartoons to sell them. And that's what happened. We had that with G.I. Joe and He-Man. And Transformers. And GoBots.
Well, now, the thing about, the success of
because let's get back to the 60s because we got to get into Johnny Quest.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Keith. I'm getting us there. Let me also say this. The thing about success that any company will tell you is that when you start small, you've got to get bigger. You've got to be able to encompass and be able to turn out a lot more product, which they did. But in doing that, they ended up basically doing what Disney and Warner Brothers both would end up doing, is influencing the future of what they did. And here's what I mean. You had people like two of the people that were hired as they started to enlarge the studio were Joe Ruby and Ken Spears. And Ruby Spears in the 1970s would break off into their own animation production house. Some people assumed with the way their art was that a lot of what they did was actually Hanna-Barbera. In fact, it was Ruby Spears. But again, their success in being able to go and initially do something different that people didn't expect is at the centerpiece of what Johnny Quest was. Nobody, they could have continued to do all kinds of stuff, and they did, that was very reminiscent of everything that they had done before. And as Gary had pointed out,
Flintstones.
Yeah, well, Gary had pointed it out. There's a certain thematic way that they pursue certain shows.
Yep.
But they eventually wanted to do something a little bit different. And so that led them down the road of doing an adventure series. And nobody had ever really tried to do that before. Try to take it a little seriously. So that's what led us to what eventually became Johnny Quest.
Which was already a previously printed comic. Wasn't it already a comic at that time?
No, it wasn't. It was an original idea.
Oh, okay.
It was actually the animation for Johnny Quest part of it was actually based on another animated idea, another program that they had wanted to do based on someone else. And so when that didn't move forward, instead of getting rid of that,
well, that's why you have that one moment in the outro titles of something that never happens in the TV series with the spears being thrown at the jet at the end. And that's actually from the original idea.
Yes. Doug Wiley had been brought in. He was a comic book guy that had been brought in to help out in the designing of a brand new show. And he was the guy that was in charge of designing all of the characters for what would eventually be called Johnny Quest. And he, as Gary and I had alluded to, had a particular way for the look of these characters and for what he was wanting to achieve with the show.
Here's some of it here. That was one of the pitch pieces he did.
Yep. Wow. Just wow. I mean,
this is more artwork that helps sell it.
His character design stuff is just, I don't know if that's it.
But this is Doug Wiley pitch artwork from Johnny Quest 1964.
And if you type in the name Doug Wiley book, there's a whole book about his life that's filled with artwork, and it does have a lot of Johnny Quest artwork in there. But along with everything else he had done in his life, Doug Wiley was a talented guy. I mean, very talented guy. Both in terms of the work that he did for advertising, magazine ads, animation, and comics. There we go. Wow. Yeah.
If we didn't have this series, we wouldn't have had the Venture Brothers either.
Yeah, true. I mean, he hated that dog.
He really did.
He hated that dog.
Yeah, he never. By the way, that makes it look like he drew that. That is actually from a cell from the cartoon, and somebody contrasted it.
Mm-hmm.
That is Bandit as drawn by somebody else, and the version of that. And I showed it to Anima, and she spotted it immediately, going, "Yeah, he's drawn differently."
Yeah,
and I went, "Yeah, completely different." And it pissed him off that they did that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved a lot of the cell artwork in this, just the same. I don't know who did that.
I hate that.
That's one of the newer ones. You know what they could do now? Then they could actually take those designs and use them for a new series. Best of both worlds kind of deal.
I hear.
I would love to see that.
They had their chance with the New Adventures of Johnny Quest, but they fumbled it so badly.
Every single iteration of it since has always been, in my opinion, not good.
Inferior is the word.
It was, good grief. It's like, and I told this to somebody too, and I really would like your opinion on that, because we have never got a distinct answer as to why Haji wasn't in the first episode. He had been created.
Well, that's because you have to think of it in the sense of like a movie.
I think it was fear.
I don't know about fear. I mean, when you look at something like, say, how they're putting the current season of Picard together, it's not like you're introducing all the characters up front. You're bringing them in. And I think the original idea that Doug Wiley had done with a lot of the his pitches and ideas was kind of, he had a comic book sort of sense about him. So he was thinking of this as like almost an episodic type thing, where you would just allow the adventures to be really one long, big movie, in a sense, at least with the story of the characters, not with the actual adventure they were on. And so you had story arcs, kind of like Babylon 5, where you had individual episodes, and your A stories were always different, but your B stories and C stories would usually have something to do with what you were trying to build for the characters long term. Okay. And so
look at that one. Look at that drawing of Race, Bannon, and Johnny. A kid with a pistol. I love that.
You get people saying, well, there's no way we could do a live action Johnny Quest. You could do it. You could do it. You just have to have some sense of what that time period was like. You also have to look at it this way. This is the early 1960s. That's the great thing about Johnny Quest. It's a celebration of everything pre end of Camelot, basically.
Well, it's pulp adventure serial. It's like you do basically take James Bond, the 1960s James Bond, make it a kid. A lot of the same ingredients are there. Obviously, don't have Johnny sleep with a bunch of women.
Yeah, they have one episode with a girl, and she wants to kiss him, and they're like, no.
Yeah, because he's a kid. Nowadays they would try to make it out to be something else, but I mean, it's about a kid, and the one major woman character that you have was somebody that actually had a previous relationship, or at least they hinted at, with Race Bannon. I mean, really, it's
hinted at twice. That's right. There are two different characters, women, that he had relationships with, and which is again something they parodied in the Venture Brothers.
Well, the thing is, it's James Bond. If James Bond had decided,
here's the comics.
If James Bond had decided to retire and look after Q,
that's Race Bannon. Yeah, Race Bannon is James Bond if you're retired.
And basically, he's raising the son of the smartest guy in the agency, who is a valuable asset, and it's. Wow, it's just.
Now, I do want to point out they took a lot of heat over the Haji character.
Yes.
There's always those that are going to be piss and moan. But the thing I've always said that was interesting is they did not get an Indian actor to play him. They got a guy by the name of Johnny Bravo, who was Mexican American. And he had an accent.
Mm-hmm.
He actually had an accent. And so Haji's accent is not Indian. It's actually technically Mexican, Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how, that's why his voice never talked like this. He never, he actually had an interesting, almost, just go listen to the timing and the way he delivers lines. And Johnny Bravo was in a lot of movies and stuff as a kid. He's a child actor. But it just, his career never went anywhere after this show. And I've always said, man, Hispanic played him. What are you complaining about? It wasn't one of those situations that you could piss and moan about where it was a white guy.
Well, nowadays they complain about Haji, but for the complete opposite.
Well, because he wears a diaper. It's not a freaking diaper. That was actually a way a lot of people dressed in India. Later, he would wear other Indian outfits that were really nice-looking outfits. The high collar. That kid had, Johnny just ran around in a freaking T-shirt all the time. Haji always had something nice-looking.
They call him a stereotype and all the other things, and then
people love to use the word stereotypes, man. They really do.
This one.
Mexican Iron Man was Haji. Secrets revealed. Let me get through some of these chats. One of my favorite Flintstone episode was Alvin Brickrock presents the spoofed Alfred Hitchcock. I remember that one. I also like the Cary Granite episode. It was one of my favorites. There was a Gary Cooper one too, and I can't remember what his name was. But they would do that. Sam Simone and James L. Brooks were monsters. They treated Klasky Supo like trash. I don't even know who Klasky Supo is.
That was a animation company in the 90s, and they worked with Nickelodeon, and I think they had created. They were amongst those that had worked on.
It was Klasky Chupo. I thought it was. Not Supo.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think they were associated with Ren and Stimpy.
What I do remember with the first animation studio, they got mad at because they kept messing up the eyes. They were doing the eyes wrong. I remember reading about that back in late 80s.
Yeah.
And but Fred Flintstone was a patsy. Barney was the real boss. Absolutely. Absolutely. As were the women. Just like in the Honeymooners. Alice was the kind of the hero of that show, the Honeymooners.
But no, Klasky Csupo started with 1989 with The Simpsons, their big Nickelodeon thing that to start with.
Were they the ones that were fired over the eyes? Because they were doing something weird in the animation.
Let's see, to 1992. So yeah, they did the first 3 seasons of The Simpsons.
So I'm telling you right now, I think they were the ones that were fired over the eyes. The way they drew the eyes or animated the eyes, pissed Brooks and Simone off. And I'm sure they probably were treated like shit, but apparently they screwed up the eyes. And if you go back and watch the way the eyes were in the first 3 seasons, they're different than the way they animated the eyes later. So I remember reading about that in the 80s, going into the 90s before I went in the Army. So the Flintstones' most known intro was Fred, sliding at the end of the work. Yep, absolutely. One of my favorites. It really was. They did that with mice, just like Jack Benny. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, Jack Benny. Don't even get me started. I'd like to do a whole thing on Jack Benny sometime. Meet Fred Flintstone. I mean, he was cutting edge. He had a major black character on his show in the 50s.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was something else, man. Meet Fred Flintstone. Yeah, his boy Elroy. Shut up. Boosh. The original Alien is sort of like Lost in Space, with the character of Ash being Dr. Smith. Actually, you know what? There is correlation in this. You can actually probably do a murder board on that with, the way you like doing that shit, Keith, with this.
Got to go out and get more red string.
Red string.
If you can find red string, Keith has bought it all.
Yeah, good luck in Missouri finding that. He's a hoarder. He hoards red string. What was Caveman Team of Heroes? I don't remember that.
Captain Caveman.
Well, I remember Captain Caveman, but I don't.
No. There was another caveman with a hat with horns and.
Oh wow!
Talking about Korg.
I cannot give you the name, man. Remember, I saw it in Spanish with the names translated.
He had like a blue mask, horns, and he used a club. I remember that.
Yeah.
Some of the original voice actors, like Don Messick and Mel Blanc, had originally voiced other characters. If you guys, we know that with Mel Blanc, and I've kind of heard of Don Messick. If you guys ever watched the show Heathcliff was voiced by Mel Blanc. I'm not surprised on that at all. He was everywhere.
Hey, I'm sorry, but we have another super chat.
Abdulio, sorry for the reply at work. If you're lucky, it'll still be at Internet Archive. Abdulio, you know where our Twitter is? Send me a message on Twitter through our Twitter account for Pop Culture Minefield. I would actually like to check that out, dude. I really would. I would appreciate if you could do that. Thanks, man. And thank you for the $5 for you, sir. You get this one, because I've already referenced it.
This evening is ruined. Look, wait, what? This evening is ruined. The whole evening is ruined. Why are you saying it like that? Saying what? I'm just pointing out the party's ruined. You know what? I'm not going to get sucked into this.
So there you go. And thank you, sir, for the $5 super chat. And I hope you can send me that link.
Bush, it's not the Herculoids. It's another one.
No, and I love the Herculoids. But there's another show we got to get to, because Bush has brought it up. Someone else brought it up. But I got to get through these starred chats. Wait a minute. How tall are Gary and Keith? We are both 6'3" and 6'4". I don't give a shit what your driver's license says. It's lying. I know 6'4" when I see it. Well, so as short as Asian buddy, since my height is 5'5". Che, you are an inch shorter than my son, Benjamin. Benjamin is exactly height-wise my oldest boy. He is exactly in between his mother and my height, right smack in the middle. Zoe is the weird one. Everybody on both sides of her mother's side of the family and mine are taller than her. She is just this little tiny girl, and I'm like, I don't know where that recessive gene came from. I have no clue. She's like a dwarf, and it weirds me out. It's like, because like as we were going by when she hit 16, I went, she'll have a growth spurt. She'll get tall. She'll be a tall girl like her aunt. She's a little petite thing. A little Audrey Hepburn.
Exactly who your daughter is.
She loves Audrey Hepburn. You would do her makeup to try to look like her because she was very petite and very much like her. One of my favorite 80s Hanna-Barbera cartoons was Shirt Tales. I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's later. That's 1980s.
I'm 6'5" and bulletproof. Oh man, famous last lines. We used to call Cartoon Network the Hanna-Barbera station. Yeah. And let's see, Venture Brothers had the best Johnny Quest. Yeah, the first time they really went in that land is when they find Johnny Quest on that diving bell, and he's been junked out for years on heroin. Like, what the fuck? Oh my god! I'm 5'1". It's gonna be funny. They'll go, "Oh, Gary, is this your daughter?" Because you're so short. I'm between 5'11" and 6'1", depending on gas station I'm robbing. Oh my god, Boosh. Gary's actually making jokes about carrying me around in a backpack. Yeah, one of those little baby packs on my back. Just walking around.
Oh, man.
I'm serious with the Gazoo one. Yeah, I didn't like it. Look, to each their own. I loved the Great Gazoo, and I loved Harvey Korman. I was a big Harvey Korman fan as a kid because of the Carol Burnett show.
Yeah.
And man, that dude was funny. Let's see, the Jetsons and Flintstones, and that's what we need to go right now is the Jetsons. Because a lot of people don't know where that came from. And I am here to tell you that it was from a hit TV show. It's based on a lot of stuff with popular mechanics and stuff like that, with the things that were going on in the show. That was the inspiration for the sci-fi aspects of the show. But the show itself, its dynamic was based on another sitcom, just like the Flintstones. Do you know what it was, Keith?
Let's see. The Jetsons were based on...
See if you remember, because I already have a graphic. If you're logged into my account, you can see what the graphic is.
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to
go ahead, cheat. Go ahead. You can cheat.
No. I'm thinking. You know what? I can't come up with it.
I'm going to show the intro too, but I'm going to go ahead and find the graphic I have. Let's see, right here. Boom, baby. Hazel was the name of the show. And the voice of the robot, the maid robot in the show, they don't even hide the fact that it's designed to sound just like. And
the lead actors from Hazel.
Jetson's voice is exactly like the actor who played the dad. It's like, oh my God. Here, I'm just going to show you the opening. And gosh, I know we're probably going to get ganked on it, so don't talk over it. Because YouTube is just such an ass about this stuff. So share screen. Boom, boom, boom. Share audio. Make sure it's turned up. Hit that. And here we go. Don DeFore. His wife.
His boy Elroy.
Yep. They didn't have a daughter. That was added later. Having the daughter. But this is the show that it was based on. And when you hear some of the dialogue and stuff in it, it's pretty obvious. It is pretty obvious that it was based on that show. And her voice as Hazel is just absolutely spot on with
the
robot.
Yeah.
And I made that connection as a kid because I was always looking for that stuff. You and I are those weird kids that was always trying to connect the dots for stuff.
Where?
What?
Nothing at all.
Well, let me at least get to this because I'm about to try to bring it up to where a lot of you come into this story. Okay, so far I'm still covering a period of time even just before Gary and I arrived on the scene. So we have Yogi Bear, Top Cat, Wally Gator, Lippy the Lion, and the Jetsons, right? And during that time, Hanna-Barbera would also do other things. one of the things that they did outside of just that is they created the opening titles for Bewitched. And say what?
I said yes.
Yeah.
I was agreeing. Yeah.
So they eventually would go on to create other cartoons. Magilla Gorilla. Of course, we've talked about Johnny Quest, Atom Ant, Secret Squirrel, Sinbad Jr. and his magic belt. And they, I'd say by 1966, had gotten out of their deal with Screen Gems and had announced a deal with Taft Broadcasting. Okay. Taft Broadcasting would then become the new headquarters for all things that they wanted to do as far as being able to get stuff made. Okay. So Taft Broadcasting was a company located in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh God, it's all about Ohio.
Yes.
Oh my God.
That's right. So no. Anyway, Hanna-Barbera also completed their long run of superhero type because they seem to be really going from adventure into kind of a superhero type era in the 1960s, because that's what a lot of other animation companies were doing. As we had said before on one of my previous shows, from about 1965 until the end of the 60s, you had a whole bunch of comic book related animated shows, and Hanna-Barbera started doing their own. It was
a lot of money was made.
Oh gosh, a lot of money was made. Frankenstein Jr. and the Impossibles, Space Ghost, the Space Kidettes,
Space Ghost,
Birdman.
voiced by
Don
Gary.
Oh, Gary. Gary from Laugh-In. Gary. Gosh,
I got to go back to the original voice. It's Gary, because I love the fact his name is Gary. So
it's all about Gary, huh?
He was Gary Owens.
Gary Owens. Let's see. You also
he always did the noise thing with the hand over the thing on Laugh-In. You know, latest news report.
This is Gary Owens. And then Birdman and the Galaxy Trio, the Herculoids, Fantastic Four, Moby Dick, and the Mighty Mightor is what you were thinking of. That's your caveman
the Mighty
hero.
Mightor. Yes.
The Mighty Mightor. And of course, Samson and Goliath, which in my opinion was kind of like a precursor to He-Man and Battle Cat.
By the way, we have some images from Parrot Head.
Oh.
And I thought I'd go ahead and share them. First of all, of Mice and Men.
Wow.
So apparently you're the one who puts a bullet in my brain. And then this one from Parrot Head.
Oh my God.
Oh gosh.
This is what happens with kids that grew up on cartoons, what we become.
Degenerates.
Degenerates, that's right.
That's a new animated series from Hanna-Barbera Leftovers. The Degenerates.
So keep going, Keith, because we're laying down some knowledge here, and we got 26 minutes left.
Well, let me slide on into 1969.
And slide on in.
Gary's favorite year.
And the banana.
Have we had any breaches, by the way?
No. Oh, it's because
so
Monkey
Keith is the first one. Yeah.
Monkey
Jeebus isn't here. Oh, that's sad. I'm sad now. I'm sad. So for Keith's little faux pas, here we go.
Why don't we take a ride to the Corbata Club? Maybe he stashed the items there.
Mr. Marlowe, people would talk. When I go into the back entrance. Please leave that remark alone.
Slide on in.
Would you prefer we start calling you back entrance Gary?
Hey, Keith's the one who did it.
Oh man.
He's
you know
the
what?
one who did it. You ask him.
I'm sorry. Anyway, The Adventures of
Surely
Gollum.
you can't be serious.
Don't call me Shirley.
Keep going, Keith.
The New Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Wacky Races. The Perils.
Which, by the way, hold on.
Yeah.
You don't get to say The New Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and not explain what made that show unique. It was a mixture of live action and animation.
That's right. Let's see. Oh,
it was the first in television history.
Again, breaking ground for mixing, because they had done that at MGM with Tom, Jerry, dancing with not Fred Astaire, but oh my God, Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we advanced to about 1970 with the show, the Banana Splits, and that was one of the segments, one of the cartoons. Uh-oh, Chongo. I can't remember what that was called, but uh-oh, Chongo. Chongo
That was Danger Island.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Gulliver's Travels, too. You'll never make it, Gulliver, But Huck and that they were live action characters. Injun Joe was animated, voiced by Ted Cassidy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
anyway, oh geez, Boosh, come on. Anyway, to finish out, you also had the Wacky Races, which was an animated version or takeoff of a movie that had come out a few years before called
with Jack Lemmon, Terry Thomas. The main villain is based on Terry Thomas's character.
Yeah. It wasn't. No, not that one. Mad World. That's a different one. It was called.
I'm not saying it's Mad World.
Oh, okay.
It was called The Great Race. That came out in 1965, and it was the Jack Lemmon.
Tony
character.
Curtis is in it.
Yeah.
It's called The Great Race. It had Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis,
Natalie Wood.
Larry Storch is in it.
Yeah. Music by Henry Mancini and directed by Blake Edwards.
And I'm trying to remember. I thought that was one with Terry Thomas. Then who was the main villain in that?
That was Jack Lemmon.
Jack Lemmon played the. Yes, that's right. He had the mustache.
Yes,
that was it. Yep, yes, that's it. And that was what the show, The Wacky Races, was based on.
And then
I love the Wacky Races. Penelope Pitstop.
Yes, The Perils of Penelope Pitstop, as well as Dastardly and Muttley and Their Flying Machines.
They had a cartoon with a major female lead in it when we were kids, and they act like they're just doing stuff today.
Yep, that's the way it works.
So, Ruby Spears, who I had talked
Cannonball
about,
Run is actually based on a real race called the Cannonball.
And the Gumball Rally originally. Ruby Spears, who I had talked about earlier, were the ones that actually came up with the idea for Scooby-Doo. And according to them, they got the idea for Scooby-Doo from a hit 60s program.
Because he had already, it started with Johnny Quest with the dog and the kids. So what else was it inspired by?
Actually, it was inspired by the Mod Squad.
Scooby-Doo was?
Yep.
That's shit.
That's what they said. It was inspired because it was a hit show with young people. They wanted to do something with young people.
Yeah, I watched it religiously.
So they wanted to do this thing that was kind of hip and timely. They talked about how they created the Mystery Machine and how they thought, given the kids and the way they are now and the hippies and everything, we'll just add flowers and stuff to it. And, So, look, I didn't even know that until I was doing research for all of this. So, it had elements of I Love a Mystery and the Many Loves of Dobie Gillis mixed in, and eventually would become one of their biggest properties.
And there's the Mod Squad. Can you guys see it?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we all had a thing for her.
Julie was a great character, and let me just say personally that particular actress, she even looked good when she starred in a hit series in the late 80s, early 90s, because she was part of the cast of Twin Peaks.
That's right. And he, this guy's name, I'm trying to remember the actor's name, but he played Link. The character's name was Link.
Oh, yeah.
It was Clarence Williams. We just lost him like a few years ago.
Yeah, Clarence Williams III, who was also in the movie I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker.
And he also played Prince's dad.
Yep, in Purple Rain.
In Purple Rain.
But his girlfriend was played by Eve Plum from the
Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch.
But that show was amazing, man. I loved the Mod Squad as a kid. My two favorite shows that dealt with that whole mix of gender races, this and Room 222.
Yep. So
I loved watching those shows because they did that.
During this time period, as we go from 1969 into 1970, 71, they started planning on what would become one of the biggest shows of the early 1970s. And basically what took them so long to get around to it was they were waiting for contracts to end because the company that they wanted to work with on this had contracts out to other animation studios. And they had to wait for those contracts to end so that they could eventually create the Super Friends. And thus why Taft was so important.
I wonder if this is going to eventually lead to Cincinnati again in Ohio. I just wonder. I got a feeling it's going to go back to Ohio again.
That's where the Hall
you
of
in
Justice
Ohio.
is.
Yeah, there you go. I knew it. I knew it was coming.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice, Keith
I love
just
the way Mike does that
with his
voice.
red string.
The goal of making Super Friends was to make sure that everyone would always see Aquaman as a pussy from Therefore.
It's true. The Super Friends ruined Aquaman for a long time.
Yeah.
He lost a lot of points.
Yeah, he was very different from how he had been portrayed in animated cartoons prior to the Super Friends. When you look at how he was treated in his original 60s cartoons, he was very upfront. In fact, he was such a big deal, they renamed an entire show for him because it became the Aquaman Superman animated hour. So, and then, Super Friends comes along and all of that. So anyway, as we continue on, we go from there to, as I was saying, into the rest of the 70s. It's some of this stuff, though, is kind of might not be the best thing nowadays.
Yeah, they lost me in the 70s. They really did, because the shows started getting kind of stupid. When they invented Scrappy Doo, I was done with Scooby Doo.
Yeah, a lot of people. Because we're OG.
But we loved Hong Kong Phooey.
Yes, we did.
The Grape Ape.
A lot of OG Scooby-Doo fans
was a good show.
Did not like Scrappy Doo. So, Josie and the Pussycats, the Funky Phantom, the Amazing Chan.
Oh, the Funky Phantom. I love that one. Charlie Chan and the Chan Clan.
Chan Clan.
I love that show. Speed Buggy.
Butch Cassidy and the Sunday.
Mel Blanc. I do believe that was Mel Blanc again.
I think so.
Speed Buggy.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids. Goober and the Ghost Chasers. Inch High Private Eye. Clue Club. I really like Clue
John
Club.
Adams.
Yeah. Jabberjaw. Captain Caveman and the Teen Angels. And the New Schmoo. They also had a return to the universe of the Flintstones by having the Pebbles and Bam Bam, show.
Yep.
Because given the amount of time that passed, Pebbles and Bam Bam were now teenagers, and it was time to give them their own show. And then that eventually became the Flintstone Comedy Hour and the new Fred and Barney show.
And it was Mel Blanc that did Speed Buggy.
Mm-hmm.
Was this also the
eventually
era?
ran into Fred and Barney Meet the Thing.
What?
Fred and Barney Meet the Thing.
Yes. Now, what was Shanatsky? What was your question again?
Was this also the era where they decided to put every, insert series here or popular thing and put it into space? Because remember that happening a lot.
Well, survival. The 70s became difficult for Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
They began to struggle, and the struggle came from parents groups. It got started by parents groups, and it got worse in the 80s to the point that Saturday morning cartoons were completely gone by the 90s or during the 90s.
Yeah.
And the struggle was always, the stranglehold was being put on them by how they could advertise, because they didn't want commercials. Parents groups didn't want commercials directed at kids. Why? Is there something special about kids that they can't look at merchandise? I want stuff shown to me as a kid. I wanted to see toys and stuff, right? We loved those commercials. We almost loved them as much as the cartoon itself. Parents groups ruined Saturday morning cartoons and brought it to killed it.
Also, Hanna-Barbera also began to lose some of the things that they had built over the years. In 1972, they opened up an animation studio in Australia. Okay, so it was Hanna-Barbera Australia.
Down under.
And so you had this group come in and buy a 50% stake of it, right? So the Hamlin Group. Well, the Hamlin Group then got acquired by another company called James Hardie Industries. And by 1988, Hanna-Barbera Australia bought itself out from both Hardie and Taft, and became the Southern Star Group. Basically, all this changing of hands changed their relationship with how they were to animate, and eventually would lead to a lot more animation being hired, having been done either by companies that were either loosely related or not quite under the full control of Hanna-Barbera. And definitely outside the United States, unlike Filmation, which was the last American animation studio that still was doing stuff as far as entertaining kids here in this country. But eventually that led to get back to Shanatsky, Josie and the Pussycats in Outer Space started that. And then you had Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound. You had... let's see, that was 1971, 72. So everything was Olympics based because the Olympics were
Oh,
huge.
yeah.
So you had
the Laugh Olympics. Ugh.
Yeah. And then you had Yogi's Space Race, the Galaxy Goof Ups. You had the Grape Ape Show, the Mumbly Cartoon Show. Excuse me. And then, of course, all of the different versions of the Super Friends, as I had announced earlier. And then you had the Harlem Globetrotters. Wait till your father.
Yeah,
gets home.
it's like when they redid Super Friends and brought the two kids in.
Yeah, it's the Hair Bear Bunch, the Roman Holiday, C Lab 2020. Here's one, the animated version of Genie, based on the classic comedy called I Dream of Genie. Now, wonder what person who, let's see, this is 1970.
Mark Hamill.
Yeah. That's it. Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill played the voice of the younger version of Major Nelson.
Yep. That's it. Yep. And then you had the...
See, I know stuff.
You do know stuff. The Addams Family, Hong Kong Phooey, Devlin,
Hong Kong Phooey,
Devlin.
number one super guy. I love that show.
Yeah.
With Scatman Crothers.
Yep.
Let's see.
The guy from The Shining.
The Devlin television series was very important because that was meant to be kind of like a kind of more along the lines of primetime type of drama that was animated. And it was one of the voices, the main voices, was Mickey Dolenz, who just had a birthday yesterday.
Yep. Last surviving member of the Monkees.
Yeah, I try not to.
He killed them all.
Oh no. Anyway, Partridge Family 2020 AD. These Are the Days, Valley of the Dinosaurs, Wheelie and the Chopper Bunch, Dino Mutt, Dog Wonder, CB Bears, the Robotnik Stooges, the all-new Popeye Hour, Godzilla, and Jana of the Jungle, Charlotte's Web.
Do you remember this shit in the 80s? The USA Cartoon Express.
Oh, jeez.
Yep.
They were trying to revive those classic cartoons. I loved it.
Yeah. Yep, they tried.
This is before the Cartoon Network. We had USA Cartoon Express on the USA channel.
Wow.
I remember being a kid watching that, and I also remember they actually had what was basically a multiverse thing. It was it Michael Dorn played some guy from what was called like Warrior World, and there was this World Sphere. It kept getting thrown to every show.
And did he say things like, Klingons do not laugh?
Oh no, he was basically a Conan / Thor type character.
Yeah. Let's see. By 1976, Ruby Spears, who had been working with Hanna-Barbera for years, basically got the ability and the opportunity to create their own company called Ruby Spears Enterprises, which they were able to work with Filmways. And those guys were able to produce their own series of cartoons that, again, there were certain people that actually thought that some of their stuff was actually Hanna-Barbera stuff. And it wasn't. It was just all their own original stuff, like Fang Face, Goldie Gold, and Action Jack, the Plastic Man Comedy Adventure Show, Thundar the Barbarian, The Amazing Cube, the 83 version of Alvin and the Chipmunks, Mr. T, the Centurions, the Police Academy animated series, and as well as the 1988 Superman series. So
I got to tell you, with all this, I do want, before we end this show,
yes,
I want to give a shout out to a guy that we still have that's still working in animation. And he was in so much of these cartoons, all the way back to the 60s. And it's a gentleman by the name of Frank Welker. And Frank Welker was the original voice of Freddie Jones. And I'm trying to load the screen, and I'm having trouble. I'm sorry, guys. I love the internet. Internet is garbage.
Well, let me also give a shout out to someone who also got their start working with Hanna-Barbera. Okay, and
there he is. That's Frank Welker. He ended up taking over the voice of Scooby, and still does a lot of the time the voice of Scooby-Doo. And he's also the voice of Scrappy. And you know, he got to give it a good send-off in the Scooby-Doo live-action movie that James Gunn wrote,
which to me should be canon because they killed him.
Absolutely canon. I love those two movies. I really enjoyed them, even though they veered completely off of what Scooby-Doo and the team were all about, which was proving that there are no such thing as monsters and ghosts, that it's always a person in a mask pulling the strings, which they do in the first movie, but in the second movie they become real, and that bugged me. I didn't like that. Supernatural stuff shouldn't exist. That show, all on its own merit, raised a bunch of kids to be skeptics. And don't trust adults, man.
Also, I'd like to shout out Andrea Romano, who is one of the more important parts to the revived Warner Brothers animation, especially if you're a fan of Batman the Animated Series, who got her start working for Hanna-Barbera.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
So
I wish there's God, we should probably just extend this to another weekend, because we didn't really dig into the 80s.
You still have the Fonz and the Happy Days gang, Richie Rich, the Flintstones.
Well, we need to go also into the revival of Hanna-Barbera, thanks to Adult Swim.
That's right.
Yep.
Laverne and Shirley in the Army.
We don't need to talk about that one.
We have Space Ghost to thank for Hanna-Barbera coming back as well.
Well, the comedic version of Space Ghost, because that's not the same Space Ghost.
I know.
The Smurfs animated series, Shirt Tails, Pac-Man, Little Rascals, the Dukes, the Biscuits. Oh wow, there's just so much. There's just a lot of stuff. leading us all the way back to the New Adventures of Johnny Quest.
I liked SWAT Cats myself back in the day. SWAT Cats was great.
Yeah.
Challenge of the GoBots.
Oh, the animated Mork and Mindy.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And Robin Williams did not voice him in that. As I recall, he didn't do the voice. It was another actor who became popular. I can't think of his name right now, but we'll do that on the next. We'll do another Hanna-Barbera deep dive episode.
Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures.
Starts with 1980 on.
There you go.
But we are at the end of the show, guys. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to get into the private chat and read everybody that was here. Thank you, all you guys. Penny, Dragon Ruse, Keto Simple, Zax, Anima Confusa, War Monkey, Slasher Fred, Abdulio, the Peter Vinkman fan site, Vinkman's Girl, Bush McFadden, Glenn Fleming, Parrothead, Cavatino Caverman Che, our Muslim uncle, Con Cortez. Is that everybody, Martin? Did I get everybody? Is that everybody?
Yes, you did.
All right, I did. Thank you very much. I want to thank Keith and John and Martin and, of course, Shinatsky for doing a great show. It's a fun show, guys. I had fun. And I want to thank Bill, and I hope he's having a good time down there in Roswell. Roswell, New Mexico. KGRA is down there covering the convention this weekend. Going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to talk to, and this show is brought to you by Fuel Up. Fuel Up is the most amazing thing I have ever had in my life. This is Fuel Up Wake. I have all three of them. I take two of them because I got to be honest, I don't know if I need to do the third one because I have no trouble sleeping. When I hit the bed and my head hits the pillow, I go to sleep. Only when I'm guilted out of my past and shit comes dwelling into my head do I have trouble sleeping, and then I will take melatonin and knock me right out. But I got to tell you, Fuel Up and with Wake and with the what's the other one called? This one's called Play. I love this one too. It's very delicious, and they're going to be getting new flavors. So we will see.
Please remember to like, share, subscribe, tell all your
leave a
friends
comment.
about our show.
Helps with the algorithm.
And you know what? Go ahead and repost this particular show and episode and see what your friends have to say. You know.
Yeah, exactly. And also before we go, because we will push this to the top of the hour. We're allowed to. We can do that. There's nobody can yell at us because we're not technically on radio right now. So I wanted to go to one of the videos that aired. And there was a comment, and I wanted to go to that comment. I think it was this one. Is it this one? Let me check real quick. There was a comment. Yes. And I made a mistake. The actor who portrayed Thanos was Damon Poitier.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That was by Wolverine 626. Thanks for fixing that, dude. Thank you for letting me know because I confused them. I confused those.
I have a question about that. I thought that it was always Josh Brolin.
No.
In which one was
the first Avengers film when they showed Thanos for the first time? That was Damon Poitier. Damon Poitier.
No, I said
oh. I thought you said who.
Yeah.
Your vowels sound very similar.
Speak American, Martin. Speak American.
Can you understand the words coming out of my mouth?
Motherfucker, do you speak it?
There you go.
But thanks, guys, for being here. Keith is doing the classic Jackie Gleason. Hey, Ruffy boy. Norton, when I bend over, stop.
No. We do not complete the rest of that joke.
It's Eddie Murphy. So, and once again, just to let you know what it says, he goes, hey, Ruffy boy, what you getting at? Norton, when I bend over, start.